Welcome to this video on the patterns of inheritance including complete dominance, incomplete dominance and codominance. In this video I will explain the terminology genotype and phenotype and finally these patterns of inheritance. I would like to explain genotype with the help of this cartoon showing a pair of homologous chromosomes consisting of one paternal chromosome and one maternal chromosome. The genes present on the maternal chromosomes are also found at the corresponding positions on the paternal chromosomes. Therefore, at each locus, alternative forms of a gene are present, which are known as alleles. So alleles are alternative forms of a gene present at a locus. The combination of alleles at a specific locus is known as genotype. A genotype may be homozygous, consisting of either homozygous dominant or homozygous recessive alleles, or it may be heterozygous genotype having one of the alleles as dominant and the other one is recessive. So let us discuss phenotypes. Mendel conducted his experiment using 7 distinct traits and the corresponding contrasting phenotypes which were visible. However, this is not always the case. In many cases, phenotypes are not visible. They are detected only using a special technique. Therefore, phenotypes can be defined as signs, symptoms, or features which can be seen, detected, or measured using special techniques. If you know the genotype, you can predict the phenotype also. For example, in this case, on this particular locus, you have one allele is dominant, capital D, the other one is recessive allele. Therefore, the phenotype or the genotype will correspond to the dominant allele. In this case, it is capital D. Therefore, once you know the genotype, you can predict the phenotype. I will now explain the complete, incomplete, and codominant inheritance patterns. So let us start with complete dominance. Mendel, when crossed a pure white flower with a pure violet flower, reported that all the offspring hybrid expressed only violet trait or a dominant allele, which completely masked the white or recessive allele. This pattern of inheritance is known as complete dominance. Later on, when scientists repeated these experiments using another model system, discovered incomplete dominance and codominance patterns of inheritance, which I will explain in the next slide. I will explain now incomplete dominance, which was discovered when a cross was made between pure white flower and a pure red flower of 4 o'clock plant that produced the offspring pink color flowers. This pink color flower did not match completely with the phenotypes of the parental parents, therefore it was called as incomplete dominance. You have to remember a couple of things about this type of dominance. The first point is in the hybrid both alleles are dominant and they produce their individual phenotype. However, important point to note is the individual phenotype mix and produce an incomplete phenotype, which is in pink in this case. That is why it is called as incomplete dominance. I will now explain codominance, which was discovered when a cross was made between pure white flower and a pure red flower in another model system, which produced the hybrid flower, offspring flower with distinct red and white patches. There was no mixing of the parental phenotype. They were distinct and could be identified. That is why it was known as codominance, means both alleles are dominant in this situation. There are a couple of points you have to remember about codominance which will make it different from incomplete or complete dominance. The first one is in the hybrid condition, both alleles are dominant and they produce their individual phenotype, red and white in this case. The important point to note here is that the phenotypes do not mix and they retain their individual phenotype, which can be identified in the hybrid. In this case, red and white patches are distinct, they are not mixed up. Now, time to test your knowledge. The query is the AB blood group genotype is an example of a codominance, B complete dominance, C incomplete dominance. You have to identify the correct answer, which is A, codominance. You should know why it is codominance, why it is not complete dominance and incomplete dominance. In the end, I would like to thank you for watching this video. Please do not forget to like it, share it, and subscribe it. Until next time, you take care. Bye bye.